So go ahead and introduce yourself, stage name, where you're from, and how long you've been DJing.
So my name's MaskonPhuzion. I used to go by DJ Nomad many years ago. I started DJing back in 2000, 2001. I think I got my first real set of turntables, good mixer. I started off with some good old American DJ belt driven. Hey, it spun a record. My needles cost more than that. My mixer cost more than everything. And, hey, I was able to go to the store, start buying vinyl, and it I've been going from that point forward. Um, me and my homeboys, we got a few gigs, early on, but back then it was different than these days. Like you had to have CDs. You had to be out there. You had to be constantly giving stuff away. And 90% of the time, come out of the club and your CD's on the ground. So you're picking up, your hard work and trying to give it out again. And eventually, I stopped for a little while and just kind of put it away and raised my girls and moved on with my life. But something was always missing, you know, music. And so I picked up some digital turntables, and since then I've been going forward, moving strong. Each year I try and set another little goal. This year was just to get back in a club, and over the summer I saw an opportunity to jump on a festival, and I put a 15-minute mix together, and didn't even expect to get a call back or anything. And next thing I know, I'm being booked, and I'm being booked on the same bill as Hugh Hardy and MC5. And I'm just stoked for that. So from that point forward, I left there, and I think I met Jair and started doing shows with him. The next thing I know, I'm doing more shows with Seth. We did bass breaks and birds charity event. We raised $700 for the Wounded Warriors Project, and I don't think Seth could actually shut a door in his car with all the food we collected his for the Atlanta Community Food Bank. So a lot of the guys that are downstairs, they were a part of it. BDK, Seth, aka Calf, Shix, we all donated our time for this event, and it was successful. We doubled our money from the previous year, and next year when we do it, we're going to do the same thing. And here we are tonight. So next year we're looking at more shows. We've gotten involved with Skank Out. That's who's throwing this tonight. Yeah, it's a lot of things moving forward. I'm looking forward to working with Private Property Group and hope moving them forward and trying to develop the scene.
One question, you kind of touched on a few multiple points here, but one thing that really stands out is the impact. So, given your long history with DJing, what do you feel is the best driving factor or the best action to take impacting the community, like the DJ community?
You have to put the work in. You can't get out here and expect that what you think sounds good is going to appease an audience. Um, and you've got to put the work in to get your mixes right. And you've got to get out here and meet the people. If you want to play in a club, you have to go to the club. If you want to play with people, you have to support those people. And that's a big thing with drum and bass in the scene here in Atlanta is most of us support each other. And if I'm not playing that show, I'll put the flyer out there, and hopefully my friends will see it and spread the word. So if I can't make it, maybe somebody from my crew can make it, and that's what I want to see. And for the DJs that are trying to come up, I mean, you've got to make connections, and you can't be scared of rejection. Um, Not everybody's going to like your stuff. They're not going to like your mix style. They're not going to like your song selections, and you got to be big enough to take that rejection and not lash back out. You know, because it might not be this one. Next week you might have a better set. You might have a better mix. You might learn from that. You know, what mistakes in that mix did they not like. You know, it's just like when I go out and even tonight I made a mistake in there. How fast can you recover? You know, let's keep it going. You know.
Let's see. Can you describe how drum and bass has changed over the years from your perspective?
It's gone from something that, even for me, when I first got into the scene, I started out like most people in the house and trance, and because it was familiar, you know, a four on the floor beat. It's hard to mess that up. It's you know, it's 1 2 3 4 1 2 3 4, and now keep your tempo going. You know, and I loved it, you know. And I would always walk by the drum and bass room, and I'd see it, and it was like, ooh, you know, what is that? And you get in there, and it was dark, and it was gritty, and it was underground. And then what I realized was the beats were versatile. Like you could go from a hip hop to an atmospheric drum and bass track, back to some jazz, back to some hip hop, back to some drum and bass. Then all of a sudden you've gone from some atmospheric to some liquid to some dark neuro, tech step, jump up, funk, whatever, you know. It seemed endless. And then I would go back into the house and trance room, and it's like, the melodies, you know, there's things changing, but the foundation of that, it never changed. Walk back over to this drum and bass room, and it's graduated. Now through the years, it's gone from that dark, scary underground thing to moving into something that's more mainstream. And I don't want to say even now it's mainstream. It's always going to be underground, but it's gotten more attention recently, and the people, I think the people's taste have developed a little bit more, because you gotta look for the last 10 years we've been bombarded with the worst hip hop that's been produced, the worst pop music, the worst country music. I mean, it's garbage, and whether it's too bubbly in this direction or it's overly political in that direction, it's garbage. And then I go back to drum and bass, and I'm always finding something new, always finding something interesting. People are taking those crummy songs and remixing them, and now a Taylor Swift song that I would never listen to, I'm playing it in my show, and people are loving it, and that's what I've seen change. It's gone from something scary to something that people, once they've heard it and they learn to appreciate it, it's there. They can't get rid of it.
What are your biggest influences in terms of DJs that you look up to, producers you look up to that influence your style?
I'd say some of the biggest DJs that influenced my style is definitely LTJ Bookham. Just the way not only the way he produced his beats and his tracks, but the way he selected his tracks to go along with his stuff. And then when he got into his mixes, they were some of the more technical mixes I ever heard. He was juggling beats in a way, flicking, like back in the day we had switches on our mixers that would kill it or change it to another channel. And he would find a way, not just to bounce it with the faders, but to bounce it with these switches. And he's breaking and chopping, 1 beat, 2 beat, 3 beats up together, and it's just going so good. And I would always want to emulate that. So I would watch him constantly, watch his style, and I would try and learn how to juggle beats. And that's what got me into wanting to learn how to do double drops and different things like that. Now, DJs that I would have to say DJ Rap is one of the DJs that I saw in Y2K at a club that is no longer there, Studio Central. And her set that night solidified my love for jungle. It just made the night. I mean, the bass that she just dropped on us, the way the almond breaks hit, the builds, just everything. It was amazing. And then she went off and became a model. You know?
Yeah.
But she's back now, and she's still better than ever. I love her. AMC's one of the more current DJs just because of the things he does. I mean, he's killing, 4 turntable sets, having 4 songs dropping and breaking all at the same time. I'd like to be able to build myself into and act that way, but with my own style and my own creativity. I myself, I don't just keep to one subgenre of drum and bass. I look at it's all a tool in my kit. It's all for the arsenal. It's because I can start off dark and heavy, and then by the end of the night I've told a story and gotten into something nice and light. And I think that's another thing I love about drum and bass. It's just its versatility. And if the crowd's not liking it going this way, I can always change it up.
What's the best piece of advice you've gotten in your DJ career so far?
That I have gotten, you're not gonna make it. I swear. I mean, I'm 42 years old. I started when I was 20. And even back then, girls I would date, my friends, oh, you're not gonna make it. You're not gonna make it. Okay, well, I stop inviting you for one thing, but I'm gonna keep doing my thing, and I think that's part of the reason why I took such a long break was at a certain point I think I took that to heart, and over the years something's missing. What was it? You turn on some drum and bass, and it kind of scratched that itch a little bit, but it never fulfilled it. So you go and you buy Fruity Loops, or you get the cheap rip-off version off the internet, or you do whatever you do, but ultimately, other than finding my wife and having my 2 kids, it wasn't until I got back into DJing that I was truly happy with myself in my life. It was something that was needed.
So we pretty much touched on everything. It's been one of the more informative and insightful interviews we've done this far, for sure. We have one last question that we like to ask everybody.
Okay.
Let's say you have a gun, but it doesn't shoot bullets. What does it shoot?
Bass lines.
Bass lines. Okay.
Yes.
That's a good one.
Because it's one of the reasons that I like drum and bass. It's the way the bass it can touch this person's soul. And EDM, whatever it is, tech step, dubstep, whatever, trap. If you've found something that's touched you that way, it never goes away. You're always searching for it. And I have found that the different bass lines that come from drum and bass, I feel like they truly touch an inner part of somebody's soul, and that's what I would shoot out of the gun.
Well, let's see. We're gonna go ahead and wrap up. Can you tell us your stage name, any upcoming shows, projects, anything else you want the people to know, and shout-outs?
So right now, I don't know what shows I have coming up. We're going to see what the future comes. I'm just looking forward to going to a show tomorrow. Yeah. It's a big one here in Atlanta. And, big shout out to MJ for putting that out. Big shout out to Calf for, getting me involved with SummerSlam and his charity events. He's got some stuff coming up next year that I know I'm going to be a part of. We just don't know what those are going to be yet. Big ups to Jair Martinez and the Private Property Group for, just get me back out there and give me, more opportunities to, express myself musically. Big ups to Skank Out, big ups to Timeless, big ups to New School Jungulus. These are online radio and streaming services I've gotten involved with this year, and you can find me on those. Unfortunately, New School's no longer around, but they're going to come back as something else. We don't know what it is yet. Other than that, man, I mean, just everybody who supports me in this, Big ups to my wife, my kids, you know, all my fans, you know, that I have, and into the future people that, even if they're not a big fan of me, but they find drum and bass through me and find somebody else that they like, man, that's what I want, you know. Want people to just find their happiness.